वरदं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. So last time we had just started with this topic of Puranas, a brief history of all the 18 Puranas. Others who are a part of the Purana sessions that we have every week, there we look at each of the Puranas in detail. So this in today's session is we look at all the gist of all major 18 Puranas together. So that's the reason I just combined both the sessions. Okay, so what exactly is a Puranam? You can see this definition in front of us. Uh, from Srimad Bhagavatam. सर्गोऽस्यात विसर्गश्च वृत्तिरक्षान्तराणि च वंशो वंशानुचरितं संस्थाहेतुरुपाश्रयः दशभिर्लक्षणे नियुक्तं पुराणं तद्विदो विदुः केचित् पञ्चविधं ब्रह्मन् महदल्पव्यवस्थिता. So these are the characteristics of 10 of the 18 Puranas. We had already discussed this. It talks about different dynasties, family stories, kings, then about the cosmos, universe, about other topics dealing with history, geography, information of pilgrimage spots, and so on. So like this, there are different aspects on which the topic deals with of Puranas. So this is a subject matter of Puranas. Let's start with the first Puranam that we have. First is Brahma Purana. Now, Brahma Purana, if you remember, last time we had just started with the first Puranam, that is Brahma Purana. Now, there are, now apart from the topics that are mentioned here, there are many other topics also that are covered. The major topics, you can say the major subject matter of the Puranas that has been mentioned. Just 1 minute, hold on. Okay. Now, firstly, because it deals with different Puranas, Brahma Puranam deals with the story of creation also. You have the sequence of different Manvantaras. Manvantaras. Now, Manvantara, this word itself originates from the word Manu. Manu said to be the first man. Manu Shatarupa, from there you have different Manvantaras. Like the current Manvantara, when we chant the Sankalpa, you might know Vaivaswada Manvantare. So the current Manvantara is Vaivaswada Manvantara. Like this, we have different Manvantaras. In each Manvantaras, the Saptarishis change, the gods change. That is, gods change when I mean the Saptarishis change, it is of, you can say, those particular set of gods are given more importance in that particular. Rather than saying importance, you can consider, like for example, we had just the Shivratri festival, right? So you'll have more Shiva who's worshipped, or now you have the Ram Navami festival coming up. So we have a lot of maybe Ramayana Parayanam, Sundarakanda Parayanam, and so on. So wherein, depending on for that particular occasion, little bit importance is given. Now, depending similarly in each Manvantara, you have a particular primary god. Now, when I say god, it will be in the set of gods like Indra, Vayu, Agni, and so on, not the trinity gods that we have, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. So, in each Manvantara, you have a set of Saptarishis that are there which differ. Then you have the set of chief of few primary gods that are there. So like this, in each Manvantara, set of rules, they do differ. And the time period of a Manvantara also is mentioned in detail. Not only Brahma Purana, other Puranas also talk about these various Manvantaras. Now, Brahma Puranam, it also further talks about various dynasties. Mainly, it talks about kings of Surya Vamsha. Surya Vamsha, you can consider the ancestors of Rama. Now, just a tip that is there. Usually, what people do is to study about the ancestors of Rama, they do a combined study of Brahma Puranam and Raghuvamsham written by Kalidasa. Raghuvamsham written by Kalidasa also talks about the ancestors of Rama, starting from Raghu, Dilipa, Aja, Bhagirath, and so on. So similarly, in Surya Vamsham, in Brahma Puranam also, you have the entire lineage of kings starting from Surya till Rama. So that is mentioned here. then the entire geography of the world, Jambu Dvipa and all other 7 continents. Now, today we know about 7 continents: Asia, Africa, Europe, and so on. Our scriptures, Bharatadesha was so advanced in these topics that it had differentiated and distinguished 7 continents then. Bharatadesha is located on Jambu Dvipam. So that's a particular island, Dvipam, that is there. Now, no doubt there will be certain differences in the geographical area. So we cannot today just, now for this we have to study very much in detail, then we will surely get information. But like fools, we cannot make comments. Like there are people who do this, that's why I'm highlighting here. You cannot just say, okay, Jambu Dvipa is Asia. This is this. Like Plava, there's a continent called Plava. Plava is Africa. This, I'm just giving you random examples. We cannot compare that way because today's geographical data and the geography which was there while we had, when these Puranas, or you have the reference in Itihasas, Vedas, wherever it is, time period differs. We have differences happening every day. I'll give you a simple example. Pre-independence time geographical India that we had and today's India, can we compare? No doubt we can compare, but we cannot. If we make a statement that no, India has completely changed and India doesn't exist, we make a fool of ourselves. I'll give you an example for this. Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and so on, they were a part of the then India, right? That is in the pre-independence time. Post partition, these have separated from the Indian mainland and they have become separate countries. Now here, like fools, if we make comments saying that no, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, these places do not exist at all, it means it's our own ignorance, it's our own ajnana, right? But the truth is, they have become separate countries. They have separated from the mainland India. So similarly, here also, when we say Jammu, Dvipa, Laksha, this, that, and so on, when there are mention of different continents, of course, there is a difference in the time period. You cannot roughly, or you can say randomly, compare it with today's continents. What matters is the main concept of 7 continents, which today we accept in modern geography, that has been mentioned in detail in our scriptures also. That is the main point. Next is you have Yoga Shastra, which has been mentioned in detail, including the Ashtanga Yoga Parampara, Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dhyana, Samadhi, and so on. So that has been mentioned in detail. The practice of Yoga Shastra. Again, here note one thing. Most of you are aware. We have already seen Yoga Shastra as a separate topic in the initial sessions. But note that when we say yoga, still many people feel that it is just the physical asanas that we do. That is a very narrow concept of yoga. Yoga comes from the dhatu yuja, meaning to connect with the divine. So it can be through different ways that we connect. Out of that, physical yoga, that is hatha yoga, practicing of asanas and so on, that is just one part of yoga. Apart from that, you have different parts also. Krishna also highlights about this in the Gita. Next is you have the Sankhya Yoga that has been propounded in the Brahma Puranam. So you can say Brahma Puranam, if you just look at the gist of Brahma Purana, it talks about concepts which are, talks about creation of the world, for whom Brahma is responsible, who is a creator. Secondly, it talks about certain philosophies also, like you have Yoga Shastra. Next you have Sankhya Darshana or Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga, which has been as told by Kapila Muni. There is a difference in the Sankhya Yoga, Kapila Muni, and Sankhya Yoga as described in chapter 2 of the Gita. Okay, of course, both are philosophies, but there are little differences. Sankhya Yoga is nothing but it talks about the concept of Prakriti and Purusha. So, Purusha is, you can say, like a very simple example. If I give you of Purusha and Prakriti, you have all of us, we have life here, we are all Purusha, right? But if you have to speak something now, say for example at 10:30 I tell everyone has to log in, even I also log in. That is, we are taking some action. We have life, we know, okay, 10:30 there is a session that is going to happen on Puranas. I have to listen, I know I have to speak, right? But say for example at 10:30 all of us log in also, but you're just simply sitting. I don't feel like talking anything, you cannot hear me. Is there any use of me logging in? There is no use. Is there any use of all of you logging in? There is no use, because the Prakriti, the Shakti inside me, the creative energy inside me is not telling me to speak. Okay, you have come here for a purpose, you have to speak, only then the purpose is useful. So no use of simply having Purusha. Prakriti is very, very important. Simply, the point is, simply having a life, being alive is not at all enough. Prakriti or Shakti that is there is very important. So that is why we call Purusha as Shiva and Prakriti as Lord, as Goddess herself. So you can say like a comparison that we do Purusha Prakriti. There should be a proper blend of both. Saundarya Lahari highlights upon this. Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shaktah Prabhavitum, and so on. So there should be a proper blend of Purusha Prakriti. Sankhya Darshana highlights about this. Then Sankhya Darshana also includes about certain more topics like Mahat, or Mahad you can call. Uh, First is Purusha Prakriti, I told you. Next, it talks about Mahat. Mahat is nothing but intelligence. Now, again, it is very easy. Just because you listen to such terms, don't get confused. It is in easy language. Now, one is Purusha, we have got this life, right? You have a physical self, you're breathing inside. Like looking at us, we know, person will know that yes, okay, this person is alive, right? But as I told you, all of us we have logged in. But if I don't speak, it's useless. There is no use of logging in it. Say for example, I have life, I have feet, everything, I can walk. I have the ability to walk. If I don't feel like getting up and walking, is there any use of my feet? No, it's useless. Right? So similarly, Purusha is we have everything in place, intact life is there. Prakriti is the energy which tells us that yes, you have to do this. You have plate of food in front of you, you have a mouth, you have hands, everything is there. But the thought to pick up the food and put it inside your mouth, this is Prakriti. Next step is Mahat, intelligence. That is, you're alive, you know food is there. You feel, you put the food inside also. But later you think, saying that why did I have this food? To satisfy my taste buds and to make me healthy, to survive, and so on. So this is intelligence, knowing why, knowing the purpose of things. So this is what even Krishna also highlights in the Gita: karma, jnana, bhakti. That's why always it is in this order: karma yoga chapter 3, jnana yoga, then bhakti yoga chapter 12. Why? First is we do the action, right? You do the karma. Then is jnana, why I'm doing this, or I have to do it rightly. Ultimately it is bhakti, saying that okay, every day first the child is taught to brush the teeth, I'm brushing the teeth, okay. Next is maybe when the child is born, you don't explain to the child that you brush your teeth this way to kill the germs in your mouth and so on. You tell this all to the small child, it will run away, right? Or even if it listens, it is not going to understand anything. But first is karma, action is done. You hold the brush in your hand, you put it on the teeth. Maybe initially you help the child in doing it. From the third day, child does it by itself. So it knows the action, karma, everything it picks up. Every day it picks up a brush, puts the paste, and it brushes its teeth. Karma. At that time, it doesn't know why it's doing. Next, slowly, maybe it starts going to school or so. They tell, okay, you brush your teeth to kill the germs in your mouth. Now it knows why it was brushing its teeth all these years. Maybe initially 1, 2 years to 3, 4 years it was brushing. Now at the age of 6, it knew why it is brushing. Jnanam has come. Slowly now, as it advances further, what happens is maybe at the age of 10, 12, when you go to higher classes, the child somewhere gets, okay, I am brushing my teeth twice to avoid cavities, this, that, and so on. Till maybe at the age of 6 or 7, it was just to kill the germs. Now little advanced topics come in, you have to brush it nicely, you use this kind of a toothpaste, this, that, to avoid cavities. I'm just giving you one example. This is bhakti. Now bhakti in the sense, it is ultimate knowledge or with lot of devotion. Bhakti is not always only religion. The bhakti is not applicable only for religion. Whatever we do with our 100%, that is bhakti. That's why we say, right, work devotedly. So whatever you give your 100%, even brushing the teeth also, 100% you know why you're doing it, that is bhakti there. So I just gave you an example. So in this way, how things go about: first is karma, next is jnana, next is bhakti. Similarly, in the principles of Sankhya Yoga also, you have the concepts of Purusha, Prakriti. Next is Purusha, you have a life. Next is you have Prakriti, you have energy to do things. Finally is Mahat, that is intelligence. I know why I'm doing things. Next element that comes in Sankhya Yoga is Ahankara. Ahankara or ego. Now, Ahankara is usually a negative concept, but that is ego is where I am doing this, I am doing that. But somewhere it is also important, right? Now, when we are doing things, now say for example, now also if I'm telling you about the Puranas, for this I have a life in me. I have that energy wherein I feel okay, I have to open the Puranas book and read little. Then somewhere intelligence comes in. Whatever I read, I can remember now, and I'm sharing it with all of you. But now once I'm sharing, maybe at 11:30 or so, maybe I'm not that proud, but one thought will definitely come, oh wow, I, whether the opposite person, whether all of you liked it, you didn't like it, you understood, that's not my point. Somewhere little that ego or ahankara comes in. Yes, today I spoke about Puranas and there were 20 people who were listening to me. It's not always in a negative aspect, but maybe a sense of satisfaction or whatever you call it. That is ahankara, which comes in. Right? So these are all different stages of Sankhya Yoga, which Kapila Muni highlights. I'm just giving through uh, giving you everyday examples, but it is in a very philosophical manner. He explains there, wherein we have different concepts that are used. It is basically a point of a step-by-step procedure. Why I gave you everyday examples is we can relate all this. If you say Sankhya Yoga is not something which is, oh, Kapila Muni has said it is only for yogi stages or so. In our everyday actions, everyday activities, also we can apply the principles of Sankhya Yoga. Last is ultimately Ahakara comes, okay, I did this somewhere, I know about this, and slowly again, then it leads to last stage will be moksha also. Now I've attained all the knowledge and so on. Now I'm capable of attaining moksha and so. So that's how the process moves about. So this philosophy of Sankhya Yoga has been elaborated in the Brahma Purana. Next you have the Kalyanam, Shiva Parvati Kalyanam, Shiva Parvati Vivaha that has been mentioned. Now not only Brahma Puranam, you also have other Puranas like Shiva Puranam, Vayu Puranam for that matter, that also talks about Shiva Parvati Kalyanam. So in this, what is highlighted is, though the name, like I told you, though the name is Brahma Puranam, it doesn't mean that only things related to Brahma or creation are explained. All the Puranas, they have a mixed subject matter. So even aspects related to Shiva and Parvati are also elaborated in the Brahma Purana. Then you have the story of Daksha Yagna. That's how you have Shiva Parvati Kalyanam, Sati sacrifice. Daksha Yagnam, Daksha's sacrifice has been mentioned again in many Puranas. In fact, the daughters of Daksha, that is the 27 nakshatras, that has also been mentioned here. Rohini and so on, how they get married to the Soma Bhagavan, and out of that one was Sati Devi, who was married to Shiva. Now here you have the, how Daksha Yajna in this Brahma Purana also, if you see, just hold on. Yeah. So here in the Brahma Puranam also you have the mention of all the names of Daksha's daughters, and Daksha's daughters are nothing but the 27 nakshatras that are there, and out of that one is 27 nakshatras, also one is Sati. How Sati sacrifice takes place, and so basically just to give you a background of Daksha he had begetted 16 daughters through his wife Prasuti. So that was the name of his wife Prasuti. 16 daughters were there. Out of that, 13 were given to Dharma. Lord Dharmadeva, he gave out 13. Next, he gave to the Pitrus, he gave Swadha. That's why whenever we do the Tarpanam, Pitrukarma also, we always chant Swadha, not Swaha. Swaha is not chanted there, Swadha is chanted. Next, you also have to Havis. Havis, that is in normal, for you can say auspicious occasions when we do Yajna, Homa and so on. At that time we chant Swaha, right? So that is, he gave Swaha. Swaha is the name of Daksha's daughter. He handed over that to Havis. And last is Sati Devi was given to Girisha. Girisha is nothing but Lord Shiva. So this is the reference wherein 16 Kanyas were born to Daksha. In another reference, you have 27 nakshatras that are born to Daksha, and they were all given to the moon god, to Soma Bhagavan. Then you have another story, Soma, though 27 nakshatras were given, still he had feelings only for Rohini and so on. So this is how you have Sati Devi being married to Shiva. As we know the story of Sati's sacrifice, uh, Daksha did not like Shiva, he had evil feelings for Shiva. He did not invite him to the sacrifice. See, Sati feels bad about it. Still, she goes even without invitation. She gets insulted. That's when she gives her life, gives up her life. Shiva is very angry. He does the Tandava, this, that. And that's how Daksha's sacrifice is destroyed. Next, you have certain stories about the life of Krishna. So, little bit of Krishna Leela stories are also mentioned in the Brahma Purana. Further, you have certain predictions about the Kali Yugam that are given in the Brahma Purana. Now, Bhagavata Purana, that is the 12th skanda of Bhagavatam, and Brahma Puranam to some extent, they predict things which will happen in Kali Yuga. So, there are also other Puranas that talk about this, but these two majorly they convey Brahma Puranam and Bhagavata Puranam. Bhagavata Puranam, as such, if you say that 12th skanda in general, it covers generalized topics and predictions about Kali Yuga that are there. And along with the Garuda Puranam, you also have Brahma Puranam speaking about Shraddha Karma, the rituals that we do to our Pitrus, and so on, Tarpanam. Now, here again you have the description of Garuda Puranam highlights more into this, But Brahma Puranam also talks about wherein whenever we do the Shraddha Karma, why it is very, very important. So, and even the word Pitru also. Who does the Pitru Karma? It's done by the Putra. So, one who rescues the father or one who rescues the ancestors from a Naraka called Put. That's how you have this name of Putra. Putra, Putri. That is actually the name. People feel very proud when they use this word, he's my Putra, he's my Putri. From where the origin has come, people never know about that. It is one who rescues one's ancestors from the Naraka called Put. That's how that person is the one who should be given the title of a Putra, Putri. If you don't do the Shraddha Karma, Pitru Karmas and so on, you are not eligible to even be called as a Putra or Putri. Now here note one thing. People will say that one should have a son. People fight all their lives for having a son. But begetting a son or daughter is not in our hands at all. Right? We cannot decide that. But that doesn't mean that the Pitru Karma should be stopped. If a person, all this is highlighted in the Purana, that's why I'm elaborating. So if one says that I don't have a son or so, that doesn't mean that the ritual should stop. If a person does not have sons, in the Puranas in general, you have list of 36 people or so roughly who can do the Pitru Karmas if a person does not have a son. If a Putra is not there, you can see someone who can do it from the same Gotra. Same Gotra if you do. So it can be maybe one's own brother, or brother's children or someone like that from the same Gotra. Still, that also you don't find it can be done by Putri. She is also eligible to do that. Some people will say, no, daughter should not do this and that. If there is no option, you can definitely do. The point is, people from the same Gotra, if they do, it reaches the ancestors quickly, right? So it is just like a very simple logic I'll give you. If people having the same interest also, or something you do, say for example, I'm doing a Vastu Shanti Puja or something, where will you do? You'll do it in your own house, right? You'll invite your own close family members also. You'll not invite the entire house. Or you can say, whomever I know, entire locality, please come. We don't call that. Why? Because it is related to my family members, it's to my close circle also. The same thing is even for Pitru Karmas also. That's the reason it is said it should be done by people belonging to the same Gotra. But if that is not there, then it can be done by the Putri. If that is not possible, it can be done by Jamata, son-in-law. That is also not possible. It can be done by a neighbor. Anyone can do it. Even one's own priest also can be doing that. But here the point is, and it is to some, all this has been elaborated in our own Shastras, also in the Puranas. So this itself shows the importance of doing one's Pitru Karma. If that is not done, the significance of Shraddha Karma, Pitru, the rituals that we do, if that is not done, it leads to a lot of problems further. And how this is known is, in if you read through the scriptures, it is again mentioned in the Puranas that if now today if I don't do the Pitru Karma also for my ancestors, maybe for my grandfather, parents and so on, it is not going to affect me, nor is it going to affect my next generation. But it is definitely going to affect my second generation, that is my grandchildren. So today if we are all happy also, you can consider in a secured position and so on, it is because our grandparents have done Pitru Karma. So it is actually the second generation which is beneficial. Now, all this can seem to be fantasy. What? How come this will happen? My grandfather is doing something. How can I be happy for that? I'll tell you a logic for this. Now, why do we do the? If you would have done a small shraddha also in your family, you will always notice that it's not that. Say, for example, uh, we are doing the shraddha for your own father, right? So it's not that only the father's name and gotra is chanted. We have three generations who are priest, right? Grandfather, father, grandfather, great grandfather. So from the father's side, mother's side, everything is called out. So whenever we do the Shraddha Karma, though it will be for one particular person, two or three generations are also, their names are done, and that's how the Sankalpa is done. Correct? So this shows that Pitru Karma or Shraddha Karma that we do is actually to get away with the Pitru Ranam that we have. Today, if we are alive, it's a debt, DEBT, Ranam, like a loan you can consider, that we pay back to our ancestors because of them today I am alive. If my ancestors were not, if my parents were not there, I would not be there. If my grandparents were not there, my parents will not be there. If my great grandparents are not there, my grandparents will not be there, and so on. Right? So if today, if I am alive, I'm blessed to get a human birth, all thanks to my ancestors. That's a basic reason why we do Shraddha Karma. Rest all belief, okay, I do this, they get food, this, that, and so on. All that is there. That's what we believe religiously. But a very practical logic is just at least once in a year also, whenever we do the yearly karmas, Then during the Malaya Pakshakala, Pitru Pakshakala, why we do is believed during that time Pitrus come down to Bhuloka. That's the reason we worship our ancestors. And monthly also why men do the Amavasya Tarpanam. Today also few of you would have done that. That is because as a, you can say as a respect, at least once in a month, once in whenever you have the new month also that we do, let me remember my ancestors. Just as we celebrate our own birthdays, right? Why do we celebrate? Is actually one year we are falling less, right? Or even after a person dies also we remember people's birthdays. Maybe on that day we give something in donation, this that, in remembrance of people. Why do we do that? Person is not there, right? Why are you doing that? Same thing. At least on that day we remember that person. Same is whenever we do Shraddha Karmas, it is at least on that day we remember that person. So therefore, whenever we do the Shraddha Karmas, 2-3 generations we are thankful, right? It affects 3-4 generations before us. Similarly, whenever we do the Shraddha Karmas, to ensure that the family lineage proceeds further, it is like an assurance that my future generations will also do the Shraddha Karma so that and their ancestors, that is ultimately me, we will also be in happiness. So don't get confused between the lines that are there. Whenever, if say I am doing the Shraddha Karma, it's for my 2 or 3 previous generations. But as I told you, the fruits are reaped by the next 2 generations that are there. Why? Because only then it is believed that the family lineage moves about. The main, you can say, to get away with the, we have 3 Ranams that are there. Devaranam, Pitruranam, Bhuranam. Sorry, Brahmaranam. Devaranam is we chant the Vedas, you get knowledge, you chant the shlokas, this and that. Worship that we do, you pay back the debt to gods. Because of the Lord, you got a birth. So how you give back is chanting his names and so on. Next you have Pitruranam. That is our Pitruranam is this ancestors' debt that we have, which we have to pay back to them. Because of them, we have got this human birth. So it's just on that one day we pay back. But how it affects the future generations is to pay back this Pitruranam, we have to be a Grihastha. Right? So only if your family lineage, only if it grows further, only then they can pay back. Somewhere otherwise, now if our family doesn't grow also, somewhere the Pitru Karma or Shraddha Karma will stop, right? In today's times, even if the family is growing, not all of us do the Pitru Karmas, but it has got a very, very strong significance behind. And you can see almost all the Puranas that highlight upon this. That's why I'm also delving deep into this topic. So even the future generations also, it is to show to them. Why, if I tell you why it affects the future generation is mainly the Shraddha Karma is done for our ancestors and to maintain the entire family lineage. So if you're doing something, it's not that your ancestors are waiting for you. Oh, only if this person does the Shraddha also, I'll be satisfied. Otherwise, I'll come, I'll attack him, I'll cause trouble to his family and so on. It is not, we should not look that with with that aspect or with that motive. Oh, if I don't do this, people say, right, the soul will move about here and there, it will come and affect you, affect your family and so on. We should not look at that with such a low mentality. Of course that can be there, but a sense of gratitude therein, wherein you can see our Shraddha Karma or Sanatana Dharma, our culture is so deep that it tries to show that only till a person is physically alive, we should not appreciate them or we should not remember them. Even if he loses his physical body, the person's presence is very much felt. That's the reason. So whenever we stop doing Shraddha Karmas, it shows that this person's importance is only till he was alive physically. After that, okay, anyway, he has died. What importance is there now? No. Till the person was alive, it can be your own father, grandfather, or whoever it is, they have put in so much efforts for me. They have done so much for me. I can never forget about it. So therefore, till they were physically there, I remember them. No doubt, They have done a lot for me. I appreciated that. But now, even though they have lost their physical body, at least once in a year now. Now some people will say, no, I remember my father every day. No doubt you remember your father every day, but still, just to make it as a part of one of our religious karmas, we do the Shraddha Karma, which shows a very deeper philosophy, deeper thought that a person in our culture is not remembered only by his physical presence also. Even if he loses his physical body, lifelong we remember our ancestors. There's a sense of gratitude, being thankful to them for all the good things that they did. And because of that, today we are alive. So that's the reason why yearly rituals should very much be performed. If not, it has got its own adverse effects. let's not get into that adverse effects. I give you a very logical explanation saying that at least once in a year we can take out some time and do our karmas also. We can definitely remember our ancestors. It is as simple as that. It's just to make people understand and force them to do. We have such things wherein you have some, if you don't do this, this will happen, that will happen, and so on. So this is the significance of Shraddha Karma and Pitri rituals, and also you have predictions about Kali. Okay, till here could everyone follow about Brahma Purana? Next. Next is you have Padma Purana. Now, just to tell you something about the Brahma Puranam. Brahma Puranam is also called as the Adi Puranam. Adi Puranam because one of the first Puranas, Adi Kala, it was composed in the beginning when the world was about to be created and so on. And here, mainly here in the Brahma Purana, you also have the worship of gods like Surya, Vishnu, and so on. So that's why you will find certain stotras that are there in praise of Lord Surya that are taken from Brahma Purana. So that is also one aspect. And here you also have the mention of a temple in praise of Brahma, that is the Pushkar temple, which we have in Rajasthan today. Pushkar, one of the important or major pilgrimage sites, which is believed that one should visit at least once in a lifetime also. Pushkar, Rajasthan. So that also has been mentioned here. And here, Brahma Puranam, if you see, it talks about the Manasa Putras of Brahma also, like Sanat Kumara, Narada, Daksha, and so. So that's why you have reference of them also. So this is little more about Brahma Purana. So we should know the subject matter. So little aspects are mentioned, some are not mentioned in this slide. So I'm just telling you so that you can just note it down if you want for your own aspect. Let's continue. And roughly, if you see the Brahma Puranam, if I'm not wrong, it will have roughly about, I think, 10 to 9 to 10,000 verses. 10,000 verses you can consider. Little, of course, now all these verse numbers also that I'm telling you is based on the manuscripts that are there. So in some references, they will say, no, it was 12,000 verses. Some will say it is 10,000. Roughly, you can consider around 10,000. Why it happens is, in the course of time, depending on whatever manuscripts are available, people make some predictions. Then later they'll say, no, this was also a part of Brahma Puranam, you should consider, and so on. Roughly, you can consider about 10,000 verses. Next is, we look at the Padma Purana. Now, Padma Purana is the second largest of Puranas, roughly 50,000 verses. Now, Padma Puranam is known for to be a Purana which has got lot of Mahatmyas. You have the Srimad Bhagavata Mahatmyam from Padma Puranam. You have the Gita Mahatmyam from Padma Puranam, and so on. So like this, many Mahatmyas. Mahatmyas is significance of many other concepts like the Gita, Bhagavatam, and so on is also mentioned in the Padma Puranam. Padma Puranam talks about the birth of Mahalakshmi, that is the story of Samudra Mantana. Now, Samudra Mantana story is mentioned in various other Puranas also. Mainly, it is highlighted in this because after Samudra, the ocean was turned, goddess Mahalakshmi emerged out of that. That's how she married uh, Lord Vishnu. So, that's how the story goes. Then again, you have the story of the Kshayajna, which is mentioned here. Then different the lineage of Devas and Danavas that is mentioned. That is Aditi Kashyapa. Kashyapa, sage Kashyapa, he had two wives, Diti, Aditi. From Diti you had the Daityas who were born. Then from Aditi you had the gods. So that's how their lineage is mentioned. Indra, Devatas and the different Danavas. Then you have little chapters and references from the Ramayana that is there here. Now, missing chapters of Ramayana, or when we say Uttara Ramayana, note that there are certain, let us not call it as missing, but now mostly if you see, we consider our itihasas as Pramana, right? That is Ramayana and Mahabharata. So there can be certain concepts which are missing in the Valmiki Ramayana, like the most popular, if you consider the Lakshman Rekha episode. Now, without the Lakshman Rekha, we cannot imagine Ramayana at all. But an interesting aspect is it is not at all mentioned by Valmiki in the Ramayana. Similarly, Uttara Ramayana. Uttara Ramayana, there is a lot of controversy saying that Uttara Ramayana is actually not written by Valmiki also, or it has happened after. Now, if you see, there is a difference in the time period, right? Now, Ramarajam took place. Then, after many years, Sita stayed for some time in Ayodhya. Later, people started talking evil and so on. So, it is somewhere wherein it seems that Valmiki took a pause or so. Ramarajam, later, whatever happened after the incident of Lavakusha, Sita, and so on, when she came to her hermitage, so that has been written later. So that is why people say even this style also a little differs and so on. So that's why Uttarakandam should not be considered a part of Ramayana. But as far as what I have gone through, I don't find any difference in the style. Uttaramayana is also Anushtup Chandas only. There can be some difference of time period maybe, but we are no one to comment upon that. But Uttara Ramayana also is a part of Ramayana only, which is written by Valmiki. So therefore, here from Uttara Ramayana, you might have certain concepts that are there. Um, which can differ maybe a bit, that has been included in detail in the Padma Purana. Then across Bharatadesha, you have the mention of different pilgrimage sites like Ayodhya, Maya. Maya is nothing but Haridwar. In all the Puranas, if you see, you will never have the mention of Haridwar, you will have Maya. Maya is nothing but Haridwar. Another name for Haridwar is Maya, Mayapuri, as they used to call Kanchipuram, Jagannath Puri, and so on. All this has been mentioned in the Padma Puranam, where pilgrimage yatras, pilgrimage journeys should take place. Then you have a lot of geographical information that is said in the Padma Purana. The mountains, that is, you have the Vindhyas, you have the Himalayas. Those of you who have seen Puranas in detail, you might remember, of course, long time ago, but still. Uh, Mountains, rivers, the oceans of Bharatade. Now it's not only Bharatadesha, it is of entire Bhulok. Okay, so it can be whatever today we call the Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, Indian Ocean, and so on, like this oceans and mountains around the world, that also. Then the war of Devas and Asuras. That is the main, is you have the Samudra Manthana episode, churning of the ocean. Apart from that, Devas and Asuras, they had wars frequently, which used to take place. So that also has been mentioned. Next is of every Ekadashi. Someone had this, I don't know who had asked, someone had asked. Right? So they wanted to know the significance of every Ekadashi that we have. Like, I think the previous Ekadashi was Vijay Ekadashi. Next, previous to that was Jaya Ekadashi, when we had Bhishma Pitamaha, who had chanted the Vishnu Sahasranama and he gave up his prana. So that way, every Ekadashi, if you see, in fact, the last Ekadashi, Vijay Ekadashi, this Vrata was done by Rama Lakshmana. It was also done by the Pandavas also. So, an Ekadashi Vrata to attain victory. So, that is the significance of Vijay Ekadashi, the previous Ekadashi that went. So, like this, for every Ekadashi, there is some significance, there is some story. Sometimes you have Guruvayur Ekadashi, you have Vaikuntha Ekadashi, you have Nirjala Ekadashi, and so on. Of course, depending on the part where you live, Dakshina Bharata, Uttara Bharata, the names also of Ekadashi might differ a bit, but the significance of every Ekadashi, that has also been mentioned in the Padma Purana. Apart from this, also Padma Purana talks about a lot of other concepts. Here, just the gist has been mentioned. So, in fact, Padma Puranam has also got a lot of stotras. Now, like I told you, the Mahatmyas of Srimad Bhagavatam and so on, that itself is 6 chapters, how Bhakti was born. And mainly how the word is Padma Puranam is, you have goddess Mahalakshmi seated on top of the lotus. Or you can also consider Lord Brahma, the creator of this world, seated on top of the lotus. That's how the Puranam gets the name as Padma Purana. Padma is lotus. Here, another, you can say, a very significant aspect of the Padma Purana is you have the glory of the Gayatri Mantra or Veda Mata that has been described in detail. So, Gayatri Mantra that we chant is actually in praise of goddess Gayatri. In some places, you have this Gayatri Yajnam also that is done, and you have the Gayatri Mantra that is chanted. Now, let's clear a bit about who can chant Gayatri Mantra and so on. Women here, do you chant Gayatri Mantra or no? Females? Is there any female who doesn't chant the Gayatri Mantra? All of you chant? But it is said, right? You would have heard, right? People telling that you should not chant the Gayatri Mantra. Has anyone heard about it? That female should not chant the Gayatri Mantra? No? Okay. So the point is why female should not chant the Gayatri Mantra and so on. That is let us not just put it as a rumor also, but mainly why it is done is Gayatri Mantra has got lot of powers also. So therefore, sometimes just as Veda mantra should not be chanted by women, similarly Gayatri mantras as such it is said that it's a very powerful mantra, women should not chant it and so on. Let's not get into all that. In fact, the first mantra that everyone around in the world teaches is the Gayatri mantra. Gayatri, goddess herself, is it is the mantra. It is enchanted in. It is actually chanted in praise of sun god. That's the reason why men during their Trikala Sandhya Vandana they chant the Gayatri mantra. You have actually it should be 108 times, but to make things a bit easy, you chant 108 in the morning, then 32, then you make it 64, and so on in the evening. That is that is the reason why there can be different assumptions that because men chanted during the Trikala Sandhyavandanam, men are prohibited, women are prohibited to chant that and so on. Actually, the mantra is in praise of God Surya. Om Bhurvaswaha Tatsavidarvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Savitri. So Savitra is another name for Lord Surya. So therefore it's a mantra. So it's just you can just wash off all these things like rumors also, and definitely we can chant mantras. In fact, why like especially in times of when women are pregnant also. At that time, sometimes people will say that you don't chant the Gayatri mantra and so on. Why that has been told is for that also there are reasons. It is because during that time uh, the body is quite weak, right? So that you have the vibrations of Gayatri mantra are quite strong. Here there can be two aspects to this. The way you look and interpret, that's how it matters. Some people will say why in fact you get some good positive vibrations, it's good for the mother and the child. At times you'll say sometimes it can be an over, you can say over energy, or uh, it will be like too much of vibrations also can affect the child. That's the reason why Gayatri Mantra should not be chanted, heard, and so on. Again, a very simple logic why this is a reason why during the monthly cycle also women are told not to do maybe things that lead to high energy levels. So that's why you don't visit temples also, and maybe you don't do your other rituals, puja, this and that. For that, of course, there are certain reasons why such things have been told is already during that time. Now, usually, whenever you see, just because a topic has come, I'm just telling you, energy should always move upwards in our body, right? Now, whenever, if I'm speaking to you, we speak from our mouth, right? But where is the energy coming? It's coming to the food that I'm eating and so on. So it is actually gone inside. From my stomach, I'm getting that energy through the food that is there that gets converted into energy, and that energy is flowing upwards. Similarly, the different chakras that are there inside our body or whatever it is. Or whenever the soul leaves the body, it leaves through the Swadhisthana chakra. That is, sorry, the what do you call that topmost Swadhisthana chakra, right? The topmost part of the head that is there. From that's where prana flows. Or even fire also when it burns, it will not burn downwards. Right? It will always burn upwards. So always flow of energy is upwards. But during the monthly cycle, if you see, it becomes the opposite. Lot of energy that is there, it flows downwards. You have the flow that takes place downwards, which is obstructing the laws of nature. And at the same time, so already our body at that time is why even this concept of monthly cycle comes is women are form of prakriti or divine mother. We already have a lot of energy in us, so that energy has to come out in some way. That's how when we face, when we have to overcome the monthly cycle. And of course religiously you have the story how Indradeva he gave the shapa and so on. One point of shapa came on women also, that they'll have to face the menstrual cycle. That's another story. It also is a part of the Puranas, one of the, if not the major Puranas, I think it is in one of the Upa Puranas. Now, when this happens, when we go to places, so already there's a lot of energy in our body. So when we go to places with high levels of energy, like temples, or you do something positive or so, that's the reason why it is said that you don't do anything major, you just rest your body during that time. Because when we enter such places, it becomes an over powerhouse of energy which can affect our bodies. It can lead to certain issues also. So that's the reason why such things are avoided. Same happens in the case of the Gayatri Mantra also. That's why it is little said that women do not chant when you are maybe women are pregnant and things like that. This is the only reason why it is told that sometimes you have something when it is in limit, it's fine. Excess of anything is bad. So that's the reason it is said that maybe you can rest your bodies also. So whenever if you listen to such things also, point of elaborating so much is we come across different reasons or different assumptions that people make. You have some, we must not just call it just as rumors. There is a reason why things have been told, but at the same time, how you interpret it, how much you take it, and how logical you consider it, that is everyone's personal opinion. No, 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 my mother told me this, my grandmother told me this, I should not touch this, I should not touch that, I will not do this. Without knowing you do such things, you make a fool of yourself. But some things have been told, there is a reason behind it. We must know the reason and follow that, then it will definitely make sense. Next is further about the, you also have the mention of the Avaniyavitam festival that most of us we celebrate. You have the change of the Yajnaopaveetam that is done mostly in Dakshina Bharata. Uttara Bharata also does that, but that is on the Rakshabandhanam day. The Rakshabandhanam day, I don't think that men change in Uttara Bharata. Rigvedis, you will have it during your, I think it is maybe a week earlier also. Samavedis, you have it during the Ganesh Chaturthi time. Maybe in Uttara Bharata, the rituals will be different altogether. So that also has been mentioned, wherein on the Rakshabandhanam day, whenever men change the Yajnaopavitam, you must chant the Gayatri Japa about 1,000 times also. And here you have Gayatri Devi, who is mentioned to be an incarnation of goddess Parvati herself. Goddess Parvati and goddess Mahalakshmi together they have incarnated as Devi Gayatri. That is what is the significance. Apart from this, you have the story of Anasuya, Atri Anasuya, that has been mentioned, and you also have certain stories of Shiva's devotees. How now in the Puranas, if you see, there are many minor stories, right? Stories and the stories and the stories. So if you have to read that, some devotees of Shiva they did that, how they got the blessings of Shiva and so on. That has been mentioned in the Padma Purana. There is also a Palashruti of the Padma Purana that those who go through the Padma Purana, you will always be freed from diseases also. So that's what is said. I'm just telling you the Palashruti. So this is with regards to Padma Purana. Good. Everyone follow till here? Yes? Yeah. I hope everyone is following. Is it getting too elaborate? If I just went into the flow and just keep on going. It's good. Okay. Anyways, you don't have an option. You have to listen, but still. Okay. Okay. Let's continue. Okay. Next is you have the Vishnu Purana. Now, Vishnu Purana, let's not call it as an underrated Purana, but Vaishnavites will always stand the Vishnu Purana, or in fact, like uh, the Srimad Bhagavata Parayanam that we do, Vishnu Puranam is also chanted in many places. Rather, it should be chanted, especially during the um, now people will chant when you have the Ram Navami festival coming in, and also in the month of Kartika, Margashirsha, and so on. So, months that are auspicious for Lord Vishnu, during that time, you have Vishnu Puranam that is chanted. So, it also, Vishnu Purana also has got a lot of stotras in praise of Lord Vishnu and so on. Vishnu Puranam, as such, if you see, it is comparatively, some people will say that it is a smaller Purana, some will not consider it, and so on. But in fact, Vishnu Puranam, it is a proper Purana in itself, roughly with about 22, 23, if I'm not wrong, I think 23,000 verses that you can consider. Still, people will have some notions about it, saying that no, it's not 23, it just has a few thousand and so on. But actually, it has got 22 to 23,000 verses talking about the Mahima of Lord Vishnu. Now, here, like the Bhagavata Puranam, you have different time divisions and measurements that are given. Here, so time divisions. Now, if you see, now in general, if you talk about time, you have the concept of seconds, minutes, hour, and so on. But in our scriptures and the Puranas, you have even detailed information, like something which is even lesser than a millisecond. Then you have something like a nimesha. Nimesha is a muhurta, and so on. So for a few seconds, few minutes, and so on. So time division is done to such an extent that it will rack our brains out and we forget even normal time. So I'm not trying to frighten you, but this is how deep scriptures are. There is no place for doubt at all. Like say for example, in English we have something called a moment, right? What's a moment? Though we loosely translate it in Sanskrit as akshanam, right? Kshanam is a moment. But what exactly is a moment? Is there any definition? Okay, moment is 1 second, 2 seconds, or maybe half of a millisecond. When you say for a moment is just maybe for a flash, few seconds, not even a second in fact, right? But it is just an assumption. In Sanskrit, if sorry, in all these Puranas in Sanskrit and in all our scriptures, there is no place for assumption. Even those who are little familiar with Sanskrit language, you will know that even for grammar also it's like maths. Like everything is in the form of sutras, like or suktas. Everything is put in the formulated form. Okay, it is ekavachanam, it is singular. It is singular. This is singular present tense. You will use this word. What if I use that? You cannot use that. It is that way. Therefore, if there is one word that has been told, you have to use that only. If you don't use that, it's wrong. It's like maths, right? There can be only one solution that comes in. If you have to apply the formula, you use that. That's it. Similarly, our scriptures also, but for this, note one thing, you have to read in detail. No, no, just something about the Vishnu Purana, or I've just read a small book on Puranic stories or so, I didn't get a proper idea. That is your problem. The way we interpret it, that is very, very important. Everything has been mentioned in detail. If you see, Puranas are a chunk of a lot of information, black verses, which has been segregated into different concepts, like we have the Brahma Purana, Padma Purana, Vishnu Purana, and so on, which we are seeing one by one. So now here I told you about the different continents also, like we saw in the Brahma Purana. It or the different time divisions and measurements that is given in the Vishnu Purana, also in the Bhagavata Purana. Now it is upon us to read that. If we don't read, no, Google read so much. What? Forget it. Okay, I believe you. You just go about and then say, no, I'm not very sure. Maybe it is there and so on. This, why I'm telling you, this is a problem of Bharatiyas. This is a problem of Indians. We don't read. We don't have the patience of going through things. And then if someone from outside they make a fool of us, then we'll blame them. No, they only took all the credit and went away and so on. It's not at all so. I'll give you one example. You have the concepts of geometry that are there. The concepts of geometry today, or the what is that theorem which we have, Pythagoras theorem, right? Hypotenuse, which uh, most of us we do that during our school times. Today if you call it as a Pythagoras theorem, only then we know. But actually in Vedic mathematics, Baudhayana. Now, there are many people who have contributed to Vedic mathematics. Mathematics was also a very integral part of the Vedas. You have Katyayana, you have Baudhayana, and so on, who have contributed a lot to Vedic mathematics. Out of that, also, Baudhayana's Shulba Sutras. So, Shulba Sutras is actually a book on mathematics. Shulba Sutras that are considered to be very, you can say, authentic for maths. In that, you have this concept of a right angle triangle, the hypotenuse, and so on. Who knows about this? Baudhayana, Shulba Sutras talk about geometry, hypotenuse, and so on. No. Peter Pythagoras theorem, yes, he said right angle triangle hypotenuse, that I know. So this is our problem. I'm not blaming anyone, including myself. Even I am also not aware. You read through things, you get to know. But the problem is we don't want to know about such things because we don't safeguard what is there. Now the least is, let's not blame what has happened. No, my ancestors didn't tell this, that. Or should we maybe blame Pythagoras and things, like for people from outside also, they came, they took away everything, they invaded. What has happened? It's not in our hands. But the least that we can do today is at least know. Let's not let not Baudhayana from the Shulba Sutra get the credit that he has done that. We cannot even blame Pythagoras. He did, he put his theorem, he got it published, he took the necessary credit for that. People will learn that, or even Newton, this, that, whoever it is. Let us forget about that. Who gets the credit, that doesn't matter. But why we cannot fight for credit is we ourselves as Bharatiyas, Indians, don't know about these topics. Who said, oh, it is there somewhere, let me see. So this is a very, you can say, a very lighter way we take things. This attitude is very wrong. That's the reason we fall back. So the point is, all the Puranas, all our scriptures, everything has mentioned information in detail. To some extent I've gone through, so that's why I'm telling you. Everything is there in detail, especially this time division measurement. Maybe I am a person who's weak in maths, I don't know. Maybe because of that I felt it is just racks your brains, you feel like closing the book. But still, this is what happened with me. And then again, after some time, of course, I didn't give up. I opened, and you have to take a pen and paper in your hand and do the calculation. Okay, 1 second is this, one yuga is this, one muhurta is this. In fact, in Ramayana also, you have this time measurement that is there. When Hanuman crosses over the yojanas or so, each monkey says Angada, Jambavan, and so on. They give their time dimensions. So many yojanas I can cross. Angada says so many yojanas I can cross. Jambavan says this, and so on. Jambavan says I can cross over and come back, but due to old age I cannot. Angada says, I can cross over, but there's no guarantee whether I'll come back. Like this, each monkey says, the Shayojanas, Panchadasha Yojanas, this, that, and so on. So 10, 15. So these numbers that are there, what exactly is a Yojana that you can see for yourself. Whereas 100 Yojanas, Hanuman could cross over and come back. So even Ramayana also highlights upon time measurements. So the point is, all these concepts are deeply mentioned. Like even next, if you see the names of 28 Vyasas, currently we have Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa. You have even these yugas that are there: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. After Kali Yuga, again you have Satya Yuga. So it's a cycle. Then every Yuga, every Dwapara Yuga, you have a new Vyasa coming up, right? So current Vyasa is Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa. He's the 28th Vyasa whom we have. Before that, 27, all the names are given in the Vishnu Purana. So when such proofs are given with numerical values or names or so, there is again no place for doubt at all, no place of questioning and arguing whether such things would have really happened and so on. So that's the reason I'm requesting, please, whenever you have time, you go through the entire Puranas. It's not that everyone can go through everything, but at least just little we can definitely read through, right? Okay, now next is you have different again lineages of kings of Bharatavarsha who are there. Then about the future Manus and Manvantaras, that also has been mentioned. Now why future? Current is Vaivasvata Manvantara that we study today. But when the Vishnu Puranam was composed, few Manvantaras were done, few Manvantaras were to happen. Right? So about the future Manus also information has been given. How the Vedas have been structured. Again, Vedas were also one. Then you have Veda Vyasa who comes, who separates them as Rig Veda, Yajur, Sama. Sama only was there. Only three Vedas we have in all the references. Later, you have the addition of Atharva Veda also. Then you have the 28 Vyasas who come in. And Grihastha Dharma, whatever has to be, it can be the Agnihotra Karmas and so on. Different homas, sorry, that a Grihastha has to do, all that has been elaborated in the Vishnu Purana. We will look at this next time. Today, time is up. And you also have the stories of Bhaktas like Prahlada and Dhruva. Why so? It is Vishnu Purana. So, therefore, you have the story of Prahlada, Dhruva, and so on, which has been described here, who are great Vishnu Bhaktas. And other stories related to different avatars of Vishnu that also has been mentioned here. The concept of 12 Adityas that we saw last time and their significance, the reference is from Vishnu Purana. So now you know from where the topic came in. Then you have the avatara of Vishnu as Buddha or Sugata Buddha as we call. Now here you have a lot of controversy saying that if at the basis of our dharma is the Vedas also, and as per Buddhism they do not accept the authority of the Vedas, will Vishnu take an incarnation as Buddha himself to oppose the Vedas? In fact, here also this line that is given to oppose Vedas, that is actually wrong. We should not consider it that way. Mainly, there is a lot of significance, or you can say similarity, we find in Buddhas, that is in Gautama Buddha and Sugata Buddha. There are controversies saying that both are two different people. Some say both are one and the same. There are many proofs which say both are one because the principles that they told are one and the same. That is ahimsa, this, that, and so on. Of course, as a part of Jainism also. So, little the main point is to not get into Buddha, why they told us like other avatars. Buddha in Buddha Avatara, the Lord actually did not kill anyone. He was just as a normal person. That's a normal person who propagated Dharma in a very peaceful manner. So, which was quite similar to what we get in the Dharma of Buddhists also, or Buddhism. So that is this story of Buddha Avatara, which is there in the Vishnu Purana. Some Puranas, some concepts do not accept that. They'll say only, like in Vaishnavites also, they'll consider Balarama as an Avatara. But just because it's a controversial topic also, we should not avoid it. Next time we will see about this also in detail. And you also have the mention of important pilgrimage spots in praise of Lord Vishnu, like Badrikashrama and so on, where we have Nara and Narayana, or actually an incarnation of Krishna and Arjuna meditating till date. So that is also mentioned here. So today time is up. We will stop here at Vishnu Purana. We have just started with Vishnu Purana. We'll continue next time. Next time same 10:30 to 11:30 we meet same.